Double Back with Kenty Mac.
Welcome to the newest gymnastics podcast, Double Back with Kenty Mac. Each week, I'll watch a meet and discuss it with a friend. This week, I've got two friends. Please welcome Chelcie and Dianna. Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm so thrilled you guys decided to, or agreed to join me.
To come out of hibernation?
Well, that's a good place to start. I know that you felt conflicted, I guess, about watching gym with everything that was going on. Where are you now in your journey? Are you back to watching gym?
Sure.
Let the people know.
Sure. Do you want me to start, Chels? You know I was going to start.
The floor is yours, Mom.
So I can say that I'm still conflicted. I'm not as conflicted. I'm more conflicted watching, like, especially when we watch SEC and we don't have masks on. And like, so you've got however many thousands of people in the stands and there are no masks during Omicron. But I gotta, also remember that, obviously we're in the Northeast. So Omicron for us, we were in the midst of it. While other places, Midwest, et cetera, weren't in the midst of it. So they didn't kind of know what we were seeing and living through what we were seeing. So conflicted, not as conflicted, because I think we know a lot more about COVID than what we knew, 2 years ago. And then of course it's gymnastics, so you have to watch it.
That's where it gets you. Like you have these like values and, ethically, is this something we should be doing? But it's gymnastics, like Mom said, and Mom and I connect through gymnastics. So it's hard not to watch something when it's on every weekend. There's 3 meets every day. So it's hard.
Chelsea, I can say too, I'm feeling the same way, Kenty, about the Winter Olympics. I'm feeling the exact same way because we know, China, we know some of the issues, the human rights issues. We now have, he and Putin cozying up, China and Russia cozying up with each other. And all that is happening while we're in the Winter Olympics, where you've got these athletes who have trained their whole lives, waited every 4 years. And so it's the same thing for me, I have to say. So I'm debating even when I'm watching the Winter Olympics, I'm doing the same exact thing.
That's right. It has some of the same COVID concerns as Tokyo did, but on top of that, there's a human rights concern as well that makes it.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
I've not been watching the Winter Olympics. I did watch some of the team skating the other night because I had never seen Nathan Chen. And wow, he's something.
I know.
I think I am part of the Venn diagram crossover between gymnastics and figure skating. I've always loved figure skating. I don't currently follow who the people are, so I'm going in a little bit fresh this time.
Okay. Well, they did. And again, I'm trying not to watch, but they did talk about, I know this is a gymnastics podcast, but we just got to talk a little bit about figure skating. The Russian women, they say that they're like amazing and will probably sweep the medals. I've not watched any of them skate, but it's like, I kind of want to watch them to see.
It makes you intrigued to watch, right?
Yeah. So to your point, it's to me, it's very similar to the struggles that I do watching gymnastics with COVID. I think I could be honest and say that if Chelcie didn't call me or send me a text on Friday night with the lineup of who's competing, I probably maybe wouldn't watch.
Yeah.
Just like Chelcie said before, you have concerns about watching. Is it safe? Is this something we should be supporting right now? And then you hear about some of the matchups. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
LSU is going to be against Arkansas. I got to check that out. UCLA, Utah is happening. I got to check that out. So they draw you in.
They do.
Art and Kathy are going to be on. I got to hear that.
Yeah. You can't say no to that.
And they're so good at it too. They are. Bart and Kathy are so good.
Yeah. I didn't get to watch Denver last weekend, but I heard that the way that Bart and Kathy were so emotional when Lindsay got injured, that feels like something that they would handle really, really well.
They did, and we were watching it. And it was incredibly difficult. And for us, which I'm sure you're not aware of, is we had been interviewing, obviously, Lindsay, but we had also interviewed her mom a couple of times. And so to know that, in the last couple of years, in addition to all of her injuries, her mom had passed, and we were not aware of that. But Kathy, to your point, was so respectful in how she shared that information with the audience. And so it was for us, and Chelcie also, as you probably remember through us talking, had also suffered from an Achilles tear as well. And so we know what we went through as a family, and to go through all that recovery. And so to know that Lindsay has to do this a second time, and now without her mom, was incredibly, incredibly difficult for us to watch, just because it's like, we know Lindsay, right? So I think all of that for us is, for gymnastics, as it always has been, it's just an emotional roller coaster for Chelcie and I, just because of all the memories that come and all the things we went through, and whether it was the successes or the challenges. And we continue to do that, even, on this side, through, folks like yourself, who we get the chance to talk to and understand, people's lives in a way in which we normally don't. But I think that's what makes the sport, right?
That's right. I love those interviews with Lindsay and her mom. I love listening to those. I've listened to those multiple times. I think you interviewed her the first time when she had made nationals and her team hadn't, and you could hear in her voice how excited she was, but she was trying not to be too excited, because it was a mix of joy and disappointment that the whole team couldn't go, but she as a freshman had made it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think you met her mom at nationals that year. Is that right?
We did. And for us, it's, for our audience, it's like you said, it's the interview. But for us, there's a whole lot of dialogue and conversation and things that we're not even putting on the air. So we really are, understanding at a depth that even our audience doesn't hear, but we're emotionally connected. And I didn't say this to Chelcie, but I wanted to call Lindsay myself and said, I'm your mom now, call me if you need me. But I don't know if she feels that way about me. So I didn't do that. But I think that is, again, that's what this sport is. And that's what this community, right? This gymnastics community is, that each of these things we feel with each other. And I think that's the beauty of it, right?
I know she has a lot of support in the gymnastics community, and I think she'll be thrilled to know that she's got you on her side too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
She had mentioned she was planning, before her injury, she was planning to keep going to the Olympics to represent Haiti.
Yes.
And I'm curious if that's how she's dealing with that right now.
Sure. So when would that have to be? Is that 3 years from now? Is that when the Olympics will be?
2024. So that would be, she'll recover by 2023, and then she'll have sort of that final year to do a push. That feels like she would have to qualify as an individual, since there's no Haitian national team. Right. So she would need to go to Worlds or the World Cup circuit. So that feels like a lot of competitions in 2023. It's the very beginning of 2022. I mean,
hey, but if anybody could do it,
it's her.
It's Lindsay, right? If anybody could do it, it's Lindsay. Yeah. And for me, it's whatever she wants. Whatever. This is her gymnastics career. And I think that, we were watching the meet because, again, we were watching it when it happened. To see her do, those previous routines and nail everything, vault, bars, just do so beautifully. And to do the passes before that one, where she was just owning that floor, owning that routine. And then that flip, just like that flip of a switch, just like that. It just humbles you. The sport humbles you, right? And it has you reflecting on, what's important to you in your life.
Yeah, she'll have a story to tell when she's on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, but she's an amazing gymnast, an amazing woman. And I'm excited to see what she does.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We're so excited about you and your new podcast. I know this is going to be about us, but this is so cool.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been something that's been in my mind since we've all been at home finding new things to do. Right. And I've had some good friends who've encouraged me, especially over New Year's this year. Yeah. Just jump in and try it. Jump in and go. You know,
that's exactly.
I think I'm a person who it's got to be perfect. And they said, don't worry about that. Just start. So this is my.
Like Chelcie.
I was the exact same way. And then I had mom that said, let's just record something. We don't even have to do anything with it. And then we recorded 100 episodes. So.
Congratulations.
It's so true. But it is, and that's that kind of good versus perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of your podcast. So it can sound the way you want it to sound, right? You can do what you want to do. And just, that's kind of my ethos in life anyway. Just go for it.
Just have fun with it.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to talk to my friend. I've been dragging friends to gymnastics meets for years. They've become casual gym fans because of me. So part of the podcast is having those conversations with those friends. Yeah. And when I decided to go for it, I also thought there's a few people I would also love to have conversations with. I don't know if they would ever want to or not. So I sent the email and I was just so thrilled that you guys agreed to chat. So Thank you.
Yeah, at any time. And we, as you know, we have no problem talking. We have no problem sharing our opinion. And to be honest with you, this is actually much more enjoyable for us. Obviously, we loved producing the 100 episodes, but there's so much work, as you know, that goes into it. It's the pre-interviews, it's the editing, it's the recording of ourselves, it's watching the meets and doing all that while we both have these full-time jobs. Almost took away from the excitement that we had in doing the meets and being with each other. So this allows us to still do that without that other part anymore. So call us anytime.
Happy to help. But I agree with you. Watching meets now, if it's a meet I'm going to talk about, becomes a different experience. You're trying to take notes, or how do I take, I'm not live blogging it. I'm wanting to record the things that stand out that I want to talk about.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And you don't have the added pressure of a daughter who says, Mom, are you watching? And then of course, I did try to take notes because I don't remember the names and I don't know the skills, but I know I have to talk about it, at 10 o'clock Sunday night because she's going to call, and then I don't do it well, and then I get yelled at. So.
That's not true. I never yelled at Mom.
I was going to ask Chelcie, how do you feel about the phrase yelled at?
No, we're going to do the outtakes on this one. The heavy sighs.
So you mentioned your jobs, and I know that was something we were able to hear about as there were changes, and yours became a very long day. Yes. How are you both? How are your professional lives right now?
Sure. So, I think, as you said, through the Routine podcast, I went through a job that I despised to getting laid off from a job that I despised right after 15 years. And then during that time, my father passing, right? And so all of that happened through, while we were on the air with the Routine podcast, to getting another job. And so to answer your question, I love my job.
Good.
I love my job. I think I've gotten promoted maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4 times in like this 3-year period at this new job. And I love it. It's just very, very, very intense. And it's funny, I've had lots of jobs, and Chelcie has seen me go through it. Like, I'm all in, not as home as much as I wanted, not as focused on the kids as much as I wanted, all those things. And she's like, almost 30 years old. And so when I got this recent promotion, she's like, I don't want you to go back to that other mom.
Mom is a very, very hard worker. She does her best in every job that she does, and she puts her 110% into it.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to witness that. And especially when we were working from home, Mom was on these like Teams calls from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it was cool as a daughter to see my mom be like this like boss lady,
Yeah, but it's the balance. And so Chelcie, I always hear that, when I get this intensity every day, I hear you say to me, I don't want you to go to that, that crazy part where, I'm so, as you said, 110% in, that I'm losing that other side of me that I've discovered by not having those crazy jobs. So I'm trying to balance it, even at this age, right? You're trying to balance all that. And the teleworking's great, but it almost makes you even more intense about it because you're in the house the whole time, right? And so trying to figure out, okay, I'm just gonna shut it down and work on my jigsaw puzzle for the next hour and watch the closer, which is what I've been doing at noon every day. Because it does let my brain just let that crazy stuff go for at least an hour.
I agree. I think if there's,
I'm sorry, talk to Chelcie about her new job.
Well, I would love to hear. Yeah. How's new job?
I think the last time we were on air, I started my new position. And so I had a whole new batch of responsibilities. But like Mom, I'm doing things that I love every day. I don't have as much free time as I used to have to sit down and edit for 5 hours straight. And I just don't want to bother Mom with gymnastic stuff anymore because she's like doing like big girl work now.
Like real stuff.
Yeah. So we're both just like thriving in our individual careers, which is awesome.
That's great. That's so great to hear. Yeah. I'll say I don't think Mom would mind if you bugged her with the gymnastics meet once in a while.
I wouldn't, as long as I don't have to talk about it and she doesn't yell at me, then I don't mind at all.
Well, I don't like the picture you're painting of me.
And Chelcie, are you in an office? Are you still teleworking, or how is that working?
I'm still teleworking, which is like my newfound love. I'm an extreme introvert. Like I don't have to see people for like a week and I'm good. So I love teleworking. That's great.
That's great. Yeah, I'm still teleworking as well. We actually closed our office sort of permanently, and we work from our homes on Zoom and Teams and all of that every day. It's a very people job that I have, so I'm seeing people and talking to them all the time, but I'm just right here. And I agree, there is a balance that I think we've learned in the last couple of years, that because there's no commute, because it can be there all the time, we tend to check in and stay on top and keep pushing. But I think we have to take that time for ourselves, just like you were saying. I think it's healthy to take mentally and physically some time away, whether it's a walk or some fresh air or doing a crossword puzzle or something. Yeah. Wordle.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about that. I don't know what Wordle is. It sounds like something I'd want to do though.
We used to have a game called, oh, what was it called? It was exactly the same thing. It was called Mastermind. And you would have a little 5 or 6 holes where you would line up colored pins. You would line up colored pins in the holes. And the person on the other side would have to try and guess the order of the pins. And you would let them know how many they had right, how many they had wrong, or how many were in the wrong position. So when I first saw Wordle, I was like, oh, that's just like Mastermind. You just go to wordle.com and it'll pull it up. It's a 5-letter word, and you guess a word, and it tells you how many letters that you have correct, either in the correct space, or that's the right letter, but it's in the wrong space. And then you have, I think, 6 tries to get the right word.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a word puzzle, and it shows you which letters you've guessed so that you don't guess those again. One of the keys is for your first word, pick a word with a couple of different vowels in it, because that helps you process of elimination, figure out what vowels are in the Wordle.
Got it. Okay. So I don't have to have an app, which I guess for me is great because I have, so I just go on wordle.com.
Wordle.com. Now, it was just acquired by the New York Times, and there's some concern that it may go behind a paywall at some point, but it's free right now. So
got it. Okay.
Try it while it's free.
I think I'm going to try it. I'm hearing enough about it. I never was like a Candy Crush, is that what's called? I was never one of those Candy Crush people, but I love like Scrabble and all word games I love. My brother and sister and I, one lives in Ohio and one lives in Missouri. We do bananagrams. I don't know if you've played bananagrams before, but we have devised our own rules, which it's a joke in my family. We always devise our own rules. We never follow, the rules that are on the back of the game, but we devised a way to do that virtually where we can all play bananagrams virtually together. We each have our own bag. And so that's a lot of fun. So long story short, I love word games. So it sounds like something I would love.
I think you'd like it. Give it a try. Some friends and I play Farkle. That's a dice game. And through the pandemic, we've done the same thing. We've come up with a way to do it on Zoom where everyone has their dice and you roll and score the points. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know we talked a little bit about teleworking, but one of the things Chelcie talked about is how much she enjoys it. I enjoy it too, although for me, I'm getting a little stir crazy just sitting in the house as much. But I think for people who are introverts like Chelcie, not only is it the fact that she's home and she doesn't have to see people, I think for her too, but Chelcie, you can describe it better. It's also the thought, especially on a new job, that now whenever I do go back, I have to meet everybody at one time, and they all have expectations of me because I've been on this video screen. Like my whole department, I've never met any of them in person. It's, I've hired them all teleworking. We all work teleworking. So they can't wait to meet with me. But I'm like, I really don't want to do that.
We break this up over time a little bit.
Exactly. One person at a time, one day at a time, or something like that, right?
No, I think I remember that you were going back to the office at one point. I think we heard about that on the podcast. So did that stop and you went back to teleworking at one point?
We did, yeah. I mean, we've been ebbing and flowing with the pandemic. And as soon as there's a mandate that goes into effect, it changes because now Omicron's here, right? And it's still that way, that they're really, now that the surge, at least in the Northeast, is coming down, they're now trying to decide, what does that look like? How many days a week should people come in? And part of the struggle too, is you all both know, because I'm in the HR area, trying to recruit or retain employees with a come to work mandate is really, really difficult.
Sure. Yeah. We were talking about this in my office yesterday because I work in touring Broadway. So it involves traveling companies getting from city to city, where rules and expectations are different across different states, of course.
Yeah, right.
And it also involves large groups of people coming in to see the shows. So there's a couple of different complications there. And there certainly are cities where people are being more careful, more observant, and ticket sales are very low in those places. And so we were discussing, I think when the weather gets warm this spring, and of course the cases are going to be dropping at that time, but whether or not it's better, people are going to feel like it's better. People are going to want to get outside. They're going to want to do things. I think we saw that last summer. And this even more so because so many more people are vaccinated, because cases when you're vaccinated are so less threatening. I think the spring and the warm weather is going to be a big change.
Yes, I agree with that. I hope you're right. And I hope the vaccine is not what it was or is, to your point, because so many people are vaccinated, that not only does the weather allow us to do that, but COVID allows us to do that. And that we just, and I know we won't get back to normal, but it'll be better. That's what I'm wishing and hoping for.
Yeah. I look forward to that.
Although I'm still not going to go grocery shopping. I'm still going to have groceries delivered. I cannot stand, and Chelsea will tell you this, I've never, ever I don't like shopping, period, but I despise grocery shopping. Despise it.
She'd rather pay that extra fee just to get it delivered.
I would. I mean, I don't want to.
Does it come to your house, or do you go and they put it in your car?
No, it comes to my garage and drops it in the garage. So I just walk 3 steps to the garage and bring my groceries in the house.
Nice. I like that.
Nice. Yeah.
I hope in our lives and in our professional lives, there's things that we've learned these last 2 years that we keep taking with us.
Yeah, me too. That's so true.
We've all learned the beauty of Zoom and Teams and seeing each other and working collaboratively without getting on a plane every week. My job involves a lot of travel, and I think that there's going to be a lot less travel now because I can see people and work this way.
Yeah. And we've learned to appreciate each other, right? In a way in which we just took everything for granted. We took each other for granted. And I hope that sticks with us.
I hope so too. We took college sports for granted. We saw that can be taken away.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's part of the joy, that now that it's back, even though we all have some concerns, it's just joyful to be able to see it.
Absolutely.
Double back with Chelcie Mack.